Welcome to a new fantasy adventure on Dreamscape. This fairy tale story tells of the unusual love between a princess and her court jester. Separated by differences in class, the two find each other in a touching way. The biggest gesture you can give me is a like. If you like my stories, feel free to leave a subscription and activate the bell so you don't miss any more stories. Well then, let's dive into the story. The Princess and Her Fool. Princess Lyrian sighed and propped her chin on her hand in boredom. Once again, she had to attend a banquet-like court celebration of her father, King Fainur. Courtly festivities had always been repugnant to her. But next, the court jester Gwillian entered the magnificent throne room, and Lyrian's countenance brightened. With his jokes and jests, the slight man made even her laugh. In contrast to the pompous court, Gwillian was refreshingly unconventional. When the jester sought eye contact with Lyrian in the middle of one of his jokes, the princess felt herself growing hot. For far too long, her eyes rested on his mischievous smile. Confused, Lyrian averted her eyes. What was the matter with her? She had never paid attention to the fool before. But now she felt a tingling when her eyes met his. Could it be? In the following days, Lyrian watched the jester furtively. Whenever he played his jokes, she felt her heart beat faster. She even began to sneak secretly to his jokes. The princess noticed that behind Gwillian's cheerfulness there was also melancholy. Nothing was known about his origins. He seemed to be lonely. Lyrian wished she could be there for him. Then one evening she met him alone in the castle garden, where he sat pensively on a bench.
"What troubles you, Gwillian?"
asked Lyrian softly. The fool sighed.
"Ah, noble princess. Sometimes I wish I were more than a mere jester."
Lyrian sat down with him.
"You are so much more than that. Your wit has lit up my heart many a time."
Gwillian looked at her in surprise. Lyrian felt the blush rise to her face and lowered her eyes. From then on, the two met secretly every evening in the castle garden. They talked for hours and felt attracted to each other. But their feelings had to remain a secret. A princess and a fool, impossible. Often they would jokingly tease each other, or Gwillian would entertain Lyrian with acrobatics and juggling. Then they laughed boisterously like children. The princess felt so light and carefree around him. But happiness cannot be hidden. One day King Fainur noticed how his daughter kept looking secretly at the jester. Anger filled him.
"You will not see this jester again,"
he thundered. Crying, Lyrian begged her father to accept her love, but he remained firm. That very day, Gwillian was expelled from court.
"Farewell, princess. I will never forget you,"
he cried sadly. Lyrian was inconsolable. Meanwhile, her father was preparing her marriage to Prince Baldin, heir to a neighboring kingdom.
"You will learn to love him. It is for your own good,"
he reassured her. But Lyrian refused to marry the foreign prince. She refused meals and cried a lot. Her father softened in the face of her grief. With a heavy heart, he allowed the fool to return. The reunion of the couple was great. But still the law stood in the way of their love.
"I will ask for your hand. I don't care what they say about me,"
cried Gwillian passionately. On the day of the wedding, King Fainur gave an address to the celebrants. Then the doors opened and Gwillian entered.
"I have asked permission to dance for the bride one last time,"
he announced. Lyrian's eyes lit up as Gwillian hugged her tightly.
"I love you no matter what,"
he whispered. Prince Baldin looked at the two of them enviously. Then he made a decision. After the dance, the prince announced,
"I cannot separate this love. I renounce marriage."
King Fainur looked at him in amazement. Gwillian bowed his head.
"I will honor your daughter."
Then the king agreed. So Lirian and Gwillian were married that very day. Although he was only a fool, Gwillian later ruled by her side with wisdom and kindness. And when the princess was sad, he made her happy again with a dance and a joke. Even King Fainur grew fond of his jester son-in-law in time. Often Gwillian's jokes lightened the tense mood during negotiations and eased many a conflict. The people also quickly grew fond of the jester in the role of prince consort. Unlike the usually aloof nobles, Gwillian had an open ear for everyone and helped where he could. Lirian and Gwillian had children of their own over the years, all of whom inherited their father's humor and kindness of heart. When the jester prince bounced him on his knees and made faces, merry laughter filled the castle. Thus the unusual couple ruled for many years for the good of the people. Even in later times, the story of the princess and her jester was told a legend about the power of true love. But not everyone at court viewed the love between Lirian and Gwillian with favor. In particular, Prince Baldin, who had once asked for Lirian's hand in marriage, envied the jester's happiness. In secret, Baldin hatched a sinister plan to take revenge on Gwillian for the humiliation and seize power in the kingdom himself. He allied himself with nobles who also despised Gwillian. One night, while the jester prince was taking an unguarded evening walk, he was ambushed and kidnapped by Baldin's henchmen. They imprisoned him in the cellars of the castle. The next morning, Baldin pretended to want to search for Gwillian himself. But in truth he wanted to urge Lirian to marry him now. Otherwise, he threatened, something bad would happen to the fool. Desperate, Gwillian sat in his dungeon when he heard footsteps. Suddenly Lirian stood before him, pale with worry. She had found him. Together they fled the castle. Their love had won. Prince Baldin was banished for his intrigue. King Fainur officially installed Gwillian and Lirian as heirs to the throne. For a long time the jester and the princess reigned in love and wisdom. Their legend became unforgotten.